So we've made this template for you guys to create annotations. And an annotation is this type of design that can point to a feature of geometry. And when you click on the ball, it can tell you a little bit more about that feature. Here's a real example just to give you an idea of what you might want to use this for. This is a fusion model created by Grant, who wanted to show some cool features about this model he made, starting with, I'll close that, starting with the tires. So if I click on number 2, this is the type of tires that he modeled these after. Click on number 1, let me close number 2. Giving the user the ability to change the material of the frame, or let me spin it around a little more, or I could use the orbit control. Number 3, this is a cool annotation because it's talking about the engine, but if I click, it's showing that you can have hyperlinks, which is cool. So this is a real example, and let's go back to Play Docs. This is the template that we've given you. So use this import ID here, follow these instructions, and then meet us over in the Play editor. And once you've got the scene loaded up, if you double click on Annotations Template A, you should meet us right here. It should look like this. So I'm going to try and very quickly just walk you through the features of this project that you'll probably want to change. Starting right here in the hierarchy, let's ignore the root, the viewport, the orbit controller, and the camera. Let's start with the sky sphere. And that is being textured over here in the control graph by these brown nodes. The only two things you're really going to want to change are the texture itself. We've given you a sky texture, but feel free to import, just drag and drop any image, JPEG or PNG or TIFF here, and then just drag and drop it over to the path and it'll change. And then if you want to scale up or down that texture, you can do so here, right here. And then I'm just going to hit undo to change it back to 1. So back over in the hierarchy, below that is the sun. There's a color and an intensity. Feel free to mess around with these parameters. And position. You won't really be able to see the position unless you turn this helper cone on. So right now it's blocked yes. I'm going to hit block no. And you can see the sun's right there. I'm going to bring the sun down just a little bit so you can see how where the cone is really representing where the sun is. So let's say you want to like rotate your sun in some way. The cone's helping you visualize what you're doing. And then once you've got it where you want it, you can even change the color, make it really intense. Then go back to your helper cone and block it again. So blocked yes. Okay, moving down, the entire scene. This is a transform node that makes it possible to do this. So just leave that the way it is. I'm going to click back and come back over to the hierarchy. The next thing is the floor. That's a subgraph. You can tell by this icon that you can click into it. So let's double click into the floor, and it's just a root directory with a rectangle that I've named floor. And you come over here. If you'd like to change the texture, do so right here, and you can scale it as well, just like that. And if you replace the texture and you don't have a normal map for that texture, just remove these 2 nodes and you're fine. And now I'm going to hit up to go back out of this floor, back to the main WebGL node, and moving down in the hierarchy, main object. Now, my main object you can see is just a box, a cylinder, and another box with a shadow. But you'll be wanting to replace this with some geometry, which I'll show you after showing you how the annotations work. So each object, I've attached an annotation to it. They're identical, so I'm just going to click into one of them, this first one. Let's double click, and that takes us to this subgraph. So inside here, a root, a main transform, which is transforming the whole node. And just to be clear what this annotation subgraph is, We're in number 1, so let's look at this 1 circle. Everything that's in here is the 1, the circle, and the stick, and the functionality that happens when you click on the circle, which is the annotation itself, which you can see there. So starting with the disk, let's click on it in the hierarchy and then come over here. This flat texture is going to be your color of your annotation, so you can bring the opacity up or down and change the color to whatever you want it to be. And then the length of the stick, I have it at 20. If you bring it down, it'll be closer to your model, so feel free to mess with that. And then what else might you want to change in here? I think we should just go straight into the annotation itself, which is also a subgraph. So coming over here to the hierarchy, double click on it to go in 1 level deeper, and here is the annotation node, which you can change the title on. Box made by hand. Maybe that's what you want to call that. So that you can see that changed the first line of the annotation. And this is the description of whatever you want to say. It can be as long or as short as you want. Like, feel free to put a whole paragraph in there. And if you do so, you can change the type size. You can make it left or center or right aligned. You can change the width of the whole box, and then it will change accordingly. And then the third option for text is a link. So find out more, I'll say. And always hit enter when you're done typing, because if you, let's say I typed find out more and then I click over to this hyperlink, if I come back, it did not know that I had changed this. Find out more, hit enter. And now this hyperlink is where the scene's going to take the user when they click on here. So I'm going to click, and it goes to this URL. As you can see, it's pretty awesome. The render view is live updating, so I'm interacting with this scene as if it's live on your website already. So find out more takes you to this URL. You can change this URL to whatever you want, and you can decide if you want it to go into a new page or replace the page that it's on. So let's get out of here. Let's go back up 1. And that's really all you need to know in here. Feel free to dig around, but I'm trying to do a quick overview right now. So let's go back up 1 more. And annotation 2 and 3 are the exact same. The shadow, right now we don't have physically based rendering, so we're just faking shadows just to make it look nice. So this is textured over here. Here's my shadow texture. You can see I just called it shadow times 1024. If I go over here and double click, this is all that image is. So you can make your own shadow that is a black and white JPEG, and then I'm running it through an alpha map with a flat texture, and it's just being mapped onto a rectangle. And if you'd like to turn this off, feel free to just do blocked, yes. The very last thing to look at in this project is to go 1 level up outside of the WebGL node and into this GUI node, which stands for Graphical User Interface, and that's just these 2 buttons here in the bottom right. So let's double click into that. And the only thing I want to show you in here is that these 2 images, the spin and the X, they are just images. So if you want to brand your buttons differently, you can make your own PNG images and replace them right here. And if you want to scale them up, this is the icon size. It's just a number node, and you can scale that up as well. And that's everything. So next, oops, I made it -82, 50. Next video, I'm going to show you how to replace these cubes with your model. Thanks.